Welcome to part 3. John Grimsmo here. This is part 3 of questions and answers. I'm answering your guys' questions. You can see I dressed up today with my Ferrum Forge Knife Works t-shirt. Part 3, man. Alright, so I'm into the shop early today, which is cool. I'm almost never early. I got my Claris to school early this morning, and I could come into the shop about 20 minutes early. Eric's not going to be here for another half hour or so I figure I have some time. I'm excited. I had a great day this morning so far, and it's going to be an awesome day. So I want to bust through part 3, and hopefully we can catch up on all these questions. Let's get right to it. Let's see. So it's I think I filmed part 1 and 2 both on last Thursday, and today is now Wednesday. So it's been almost a week since I filmed. I had a chance to go through all the comments to my part 1 and 2 answers questions, and honestly the comments to those are more interesting to me than the questions themselves were. Questions are good for you guys. The comments and replies are interesting for me because it's just neat seeing what you guys think of the whole process. I mean, through my video series, I'm kind of been opening up to you guys a lot. Through these questions and answers, I'm opening up a lot. And it's an interesting process for me to go through and kind of find my voice, find what I want to talk about more. It revealed some more stuff about me and my thought process that is helping me hone in on, where I want to be, what I want to do, who I want to be, what kind of stuff I want to talk about, and things of that nature. So, thank you guys, because that was an interesting process. This was my wife's idea to do this Q&A, and I'm really glad that I'm doing it and opening up so much, holding back very little, because it's good. It's revealing stuff to all of us, me too. So that's awesome. Cody Britcox says, have you ever thought about doing a fixed blade knife? I think it would be awesome to see your quality and level of precision on a fixed blade. I think I've answered this in 1 or 2. Thought about it. I'm not that into fixed blades. I think there's some guys crushing the fixed blade market, like Aaron Go. He's in Toronto here too, actually. We haven't actually met yet, but we've chatted. We should meet. Yeah, he's doing really good fixed blades. I don't know. And then you got to do the sheath, and I'm not a sheath guy, Kydex, leather, whatever. So I don't think we'll do fixed blade. Clone Trooperx 39. Where did you get those custom jackets with your logo on them? Well, this one, my wife got for me Christmas last year. Some website, I don't know where. The embroidered work shirts, like the button-up, not this one, but the button-up shop shirt. Bought the shirts from Amazon, they're Dickies shirts, and had them sent to a customer of ours. I don't want to say his name, but his mom is into embroidery as a hobby, as a retired hobby, I guess. And they offered services to embroider, so that she could hone her skill and get better at embroidering. And she loved the challenge. It was amazing, and thank you so much. And the shirts are awesome. So Eric and I got 3 each, blue, gray, and black, with some different color embroidering on it, and they're super duper amazing. It says John on it, it says Eric. When we had John Saunders over, I could lend him one, so his say John, and mine would say John. That was cool. Yeah, those shirts are awesome. A lot of people are asking if we're ever going to sell them. I don't know. They'll be expensive if we do, but you guys will still want them, I'm sure. So I'll think about it, because I think they're really cool, and it'd be really neat to see you guys wearing them too. So maybe before Blade Show I'll have to think about that, if you guys want to wear them at Blade or whatever. Beak 90 SFX. Do you have any investors in your business? If not, why not? What about loans or other financing? Good money question, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. No investors in the business. I think I said in part 1 or 2, my father-in-law invested, lent us $5,000 to get started. That let me get my mini mill, mini lathe, and all that stuff. That's been paid back. My dad has been very, very good over my entire life. He used to call it walking around money, which my wife thinks of as a crazy idea, because she didn't have that when she was a kid. When we were in high school and stuff, my dad would always be like, yeah, here's $20, walking around money. So we always had a little bit of walking around money. As we got older and projects got a little bit bigger, and when I got into cars and everything, the walking around money became like turbocharger money or intercooler money or he bought us an air compressor, our first air compressor. So my dad's always been very supportive of the business. We're very close. And I talked about him earlier about the business side of things, but he's always been there for us when we need a little bit extra. The first time we went to Blade Show, he came with us. We drove. He paid for most of that trip. I don't know if we've paid him back. So there's probably a few $1,000s there that we owe him in just little handouts that he's been very good to give us. So that's one thing, but no investors, no key people. Why not? Because I worry about being not entitled, but indebted to other people. I mean, it's bad enough being indebted to customers when you take money ahead of time for a knife. But yeah, and then loans. The only loan we've gotten was for the Mori, and that is a gigantic loan. Like I said in part 2, $150,000 machine. There's no way I have that kind of money. I don't even have close. The down payment was 10% of that. Plus, there's like rigging fees you got to pay for, and all the vices I paid for, and a lot of the tooling and stuff. So that's the only loan that we have. Other financing, I think that answers the question. Richard Clock, a good customer of mine, says, "Can you give me an ETA on when my Norseman will be ready? Sent it for a replacement blade." Thank you, Richard. Now, normally we don't, like some people ask for a Damascus steel blade upgrade later. Like they'll send the knife back, and I don't like doing reblades because it's really annoying, and fitting everything back together doesn't always work. For Richard's knife, I'll admit, it was a weird blade. It's upstairs right now, so I'm not going to go get it. But for some reason, he sharpened it a few times, not very hard, and it just, like, the whole edge just went up. Like, it ground away way too much material. And he says he didn't go too hard, it just happened quickly. So maybe there was something wrong with that exact blade, or the heat treatment of that blade or something. So, I mean, we're happy to replace that because it was an actual problem. And he's a good guy, I know him. Met him at Blade Show. He was wearing one of our Grimsmo Knives t-shirts. So to answer your question, I have steel. You're getting a damn steel blade. And we're going to make it in the next probably week or two. I know it's been here for a while, but I have lots of other damn steel Norseman stuff to make. So soon, buddy, soon. Thank you for your patience. J. Rucker, 2004. Any plans on making a budget knife? I'd love to have one of your knives, but simply can't afford one. I would love to see I could see lots of ways to make a knife with the same great quality, much simpler machining, finishing, etc. to reduce costs. I talked about this in part 1. No plans to make a budget knife. I've thought a lot about it, but I don't see it happening right now because that involves more volume for us, and we don't want to do more volume at the moment. Cheaper product, more customers, more interactions, which is great. We're just not at capacity to do that right now. So, yeah, watch part 1, and that should answer that. Scrolling up. Bert R. has 4 questions. Hi, John. How is your work-life balance now? Already answered that a little bit, but getting pretty good. Being at the new shop, it separates it, but it lets us focus on both, and I think work and life are getting better because of it. Before, they were kind of jumbled together, and everything, the line was getting kind of muddy between when I'm working and when I'm not working, and I think this is working very well for us. I'm a big family guy, but I think I needed this, and I think it's working well. It took some adjusting time, for sure, but yeah, it's working well. Eric is cool too, winky face. Can he give some perspective on grinding, etc.? He's not in right now. We'll see if we can get him talking a bit later, but as far as grinding bevels, as you guys know, we don't grind our bevels, but he does use the grinder a lot for deburring, finishing, sharpening everything, things of that nature. And he's my grind monkey. Tormac versus Mori. What do the Gibbs ways? Compare? And did you have to do much machine setup, tramming, etc. to the Mori? Obviously, they're 2 completely different machines. The Mori or the Tormac is Gibbs and ways and dovetails and all that stuff. The Mori is on linear rails. It sounds different when it moves, like not just the speed of it, but like the motion of all the ball screws and bearings and everything. It's like zzz. Whereas the Tormac, it just kind of plods along. Yeah, it's just way faster. Everything just becomes that much faster. Like when we first ran the Norseman blade on the Mori, with similar code to the Tormac. I sped it up a little bit, but we were able to shave like easily 30%, if not 50% of the time it took to machine a blade, same blade, on the Mori versus the Tormac. And all those little things just keep adding up to make it that much better. Tormac is great, budget, entry-level machine. It can make great stuff. It made us 500 awesome knives. The Mori is like 100 steps higher. Did we have to do much setup and tramming for the Mori? We had a setup guy come in for, I believe, 2 days and tram and set up the Mori, because every time you move a piece of machinery and put it on concrete, it kind of settles to where the concrete is. You know, the concrete's not super flat in this building, so the adjustable feet and everything kind of move it, and you'd be amazed how much a piece of 15,000 pound cast iron can actually settle and move. But there's all adjustments inside, and you can level it and all that. So he had this leveling gauge, and he checked it all out. Checked it out on the checklist, and it's good to go now. How did you start to implement your lean ideas, i.e. flowchart, brainstorm on paper, spreadsheet, etc.? As for lean, it's all about 2-second lean by Paul Akers of FastCap. Follow him, read his stuff. It's all you need to know. It is the bare minimum, the leanest quantity of information you need to know to have a lean company, and it's fantastic. And we're getting into it. It's very cool. Like, I've got a thing right here. Whoa. These are some of our notes I printed off from his website. He's got all this stuff for free. It's all completely free. He charges $13 or whatever it is for his paperback book, but his PDF book and audio book are completely free. The guy's so generous. But anyway, goal sample pages. You can pause this and read it, I'm sure, if you want. Grow people. Take lean home. Attitude of gratitude, kindness to workers. Talks about poker yoke, no bleeding, 0 accidents, 0 missed days. This is kind of interesting. Same day shipping. Fax to truck in 2 hours. So his goal as a company, as a lean company, is to be able to get an order, manufacture the product, have it go down the line to the shipping department, ship it, and put it on the truck within a 2-hour period. That includes all manufacturing. That's fantastic. That is the essence of lean right there. And we're thinking about that to ourselves. Like, okay, we know a knife takes X many hours to make. I'm not going to tell you guys because that's my little secret. But it takes X many hours. Just for the a number, I'm going to call it 50 hours. It's way too much. But let's say it takes 50 hours to make. I know that that's the manufacturing time to 50 hours. If I could get the system, that's way high, by the way. It sounds kind of ridiculous for this example, but well, let's say his thing. Fax to truck in 2 hours. Let's say that a knife takes 2 hours to make. Imagine a scenario where I could get an order in on my email, and Eric and I could manufacture the knife within 2 hours and have it be done and ready for shipping within 2 hours of receiving that order. And that flow would be insane, because after the initial rush of guys going, oh my God, you're taking my order, yes. Once we get over that, the upkeep and the constant just flow. If we could do that, if we could harness that power and be able to have all of our setups be simple and quick changeover and repeatable, so we're not making 100 parts or 1,000 parts at a time and having problems and defects and overproducing and all that stuff and having to inventory it and then make when we're out. If we could make every product quickly, on demand, just in time, that would be pretty fantastic. And it's a big undertaking, but the benefits are going to be worth it. So that's kind of where we're going with the whole lean thing, as well as many other things, keeping the place organized and clean and all that. But this just-in-time thing is pretty interesting to me. Yeah. Christy Farron says, how do you keep your knives so sharp? Or how do you get your knives so sharp? I have an Eric for that. I suggest you getting an Eric, because having an Eric is pretty fantastic. What he does basically is he's got his grinder. He takes 2-inch wide by 72 belts. He slices them in half, so they're 1 inch wide. And he starts with, when they come off the machine, they already have a bevel pre-milled into it, if you can see it. See, it's all kind of flappy at the tip there. That's just where the edge has gone too far and it's folded over. But I actually mill the bevel, the cutting edge bevel, on the machine, because why not? But Eric says he still has to take a long time to clean that up and smooth it out and get it down. So it's probably takes just as long for him as it would for a normal knife maker to to grind the cutting edge itself. But yeah, so he likes using micron belts from 3M, steps it down at least 1 or 2, and then he finishes with a leather strop and some stropping compound on the grinder. And he's got his tests, like his paper cut tests, and he can feel it and look at it, and he's sharpened pretty much every one of our knives, and he's quite an expert at it, so he's my guy. Amber Stoffel, I've been thinking about getting a CNC. If you had to do it over again, would you still buy the same Tormac to start out? Fantastic question. I think I talked about it in part 2 a little bit. Would I still buy the Tormac? It depends on what place you're at in life. If I were to do it now with my knowledge, I mean, I have all this knowledge that it changes things a lot, and you guys might be affected by that, through following me, but I wouldn't change a thing from what I did 3.5 years ago when I got the Tormac. I mean, it was the only machine I could afford at the time, and I wanted new, and I wanted interaction and warranty and all that stuff. And I think it worked out good. And there's a lot of guys buying used machines too, used better machines for the same money, but used machines have their own headaches too, so it doesn't always work out. Today, my suggestion to you guys, would you still buy Tormac? I love Tormac. I think they have a firm foothold in the marketplace. I think they're doing really good. Are they the best machines in the world? No, but they're not trying to be. It's like, it's the the Ford Escort of cars, and like that's a Lamborghini. I said that before. A Ford Escort's a great car. It'll get you from A to B. It'll do it awesome. It'll be reliable and everything. It's just not a Lamborghini. And do you need a Lamborghini? Ask yourself that. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of DIY guys that would love the challenge of buying a used machine, like a 20 or 30 or 35-year-old machine. I've heard of guys getting machines from 1980, like a CNZ Matsura from 1980. I didn't even know they had that back then. And they're great machines, but they need a lot of upkeep. And there's guys that love that challenge. I think there's a lot of guys that just want to make stuff and want a out-of-the-box, set-it-up package that works, yet still want to kind of be able to do a little bit of DIY to the machine itself. That's where the Tormac fits in. And there's a lot of guys that are starting bigger businesses, have a bigger budget, and need to get better machinery because that's just where their business is leading them. Hopefully that kind of answers a little bit. I don't know. I do like Tormac. They have a specific place. You just have to ask yourself if that fits your needs, and hopefully I could shed a little bit of light on that. Beastly Metal Drummer says, actually I have 2 questions. What was your introduction to machining? What made you want to be a machinist? And would you ever consider subbing your production of certain components to John of NYC CNC? What was my introduction to machining? The first I can remember, like in the early and mid 2000s, I was into cars, automotive, DIY, old Volvos. I was learning everything that I could about cars, about working on them, souping them up, turbochargers, intercoolers, building engines, pistons, like piston ring gap, like everything basically. And through that process, I'm sure I was introduced to a lot of machine products, but I wasn't super into the machining itself. A friend of mine, his dad was a bricklayer, but he also had a little bit of machinery, and his neighbor had a bunch of like manual machinery, and he had this really cool like old man's metalworking shop. And I'd walk around there, and he made some little pins for me, and he had 20,000th drill bits, which I didn't know existed at the time because they were so small. It's like the width of 4 hairs. So that was probably my first like physical in person with machining, manual machining, and I was very interested in it at the time, but obviously not enough to like pursue it. But I had no money at the time. And then when I was getting my first engine built in 2005 or 4 or 5 or 6 or something, I would go to the engine machine shop, and because he was just in town, and I'd watch him work. It was amazing. If you like cars, you should go to an engine machine shop, like a rebuilding shop, and just check it out because it's really cool. And he had this kind of Grizzly combo machine. It was a lathe, but then a mill attachment on it. It's like $1,200 or something, which at the time was ridiculous. I could never afford that. But I was looking at that going, man, think of the stuff I could make on that thing. That was my introduction. And then, a few years later, I ended up getting that machine, but in 2 separate machines. So that was pretty cool. That was my first introduction. And that made me want to be a machinist, so that I could make stuff. Subbing parts out to John at NYC CNC. He's been here. We're good friends. We met. I don't want to sub anything out to him or anybody else because I'm picky like that, and I just want to make my own stuff. He's a good guy. There's Eric. Eric and Falcor! So yeah, no interest in subbing stuff out. We're on part 3 now.
Part 3 already?
Yep. Figured I'd get that done this morning. War Machine, buddy of mine. Tons of questions, but for this video, when are you going to build yourself an AR-15? I'm not really a gun guy. Growing up, I grew up in the States. We're in Canada now, but so we were certainly around firearms more, and we used to go to the range with our friends, and I did a little bit of competitive shooting, and it was really fun. But I'm not a gun guy, so I'm not too interested in them. I think they're fascinating, like from a mechanical, cool standpoint, and it's fun to go to the range, but I don't need to own one. Let's see. Peter Frazen, do you have any experience with hobby CNC machines, such as the Omeo X6? I don't know what that is. What do you think of the $2,000 machines compared to the Tormac? Obviously, they wouldn't be suited for production work, but if you were starting from scratch, do you think you'd start with one? I have a familiarity with the kind of machines you're talking about. A little bit. I haven't kept up with the market, so I don't know what's new or anything like that. But the Tormac is a much bigger, more robust machines than a lot of the little ones I've seen before. And cost to value ratio is probably the same, like for a $2,000, $2,500 machine to a $5,000 or $10,000 Tormac. Like the value ratio is probably comparable. The Tormac would be 4 times better and more capable. But I realize for you guys that don't want to put a lot of money into this, the 1100 has an $8,500 starting price, but you got to add the stand, you got to add, if you want the tool changer, that's another $4,000. The price adds up. You're probably looking at certainly more like $15,000 for a decked out Tormac. But the cool thing with Tormac is you can keep adding as you can afford it. You can start with like a base package. But would I get a $2,000 machine? I wouldn't, because I'm way past that. But if you're starting there, there's such a learning curve to CNC that starting anywhere is a good thing, because it's going to take you time. And that's something, I've been at CNC since 2008. And it's 2016 now, so it's been 8 years that I've been working on CNC machines. And it takes time. So start as early as you can. And if that means you can only afford a $2,000 machine to start playing, well, start playing.
Well, what did somebody say? Buy the best machine you can possibly get now. Buy what you can afford now. No point in going any further than that.
Right.
Digging yourself a hole, but don't cheap out and get something that you're going to be unhappy with in a month or two.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all.
That's a good point. Insight from the Eric. Somebody asked earlier, how do you get your knives so sharp? And I said, I have an Eric.
That's me.
Yeah. Ooh, this is Rask number 1 that Eric just finished up.
Number 2.
Number 2, yeah. Well, the first one we finished because we skipped mine.
Still needs
look at that blade. Oh, look at this starburst pattern. Radiates from the pivot. So this is our new knife, the Rask, which I haven't shown hardly anything of on YouTube. I owe you guys lots of videos on this bad boy. Anyway. Hopefully that answers the $2,000 machine question. I know it was kind of a muddy answer, but it depends on what you want to make. If you want to produce something, like make an actual product and sell it, I don't think a $2,000 machine is going to do very well unless it's made of plastic. because at that point you're thinking business-wise. Like, you have to justify the cost, and then how much money can I make with it? And, if you just want a toy in your garage to play with and learn CNC, absolutely get whatever you can afford. And if that's only a $2,000 machine, start with a 3D printer or whatever for $500. That'll teach you design and all that stuff. Melange Bryce, I have a few questions. If I read more, 3 questions. I think all of your knives are just folding knives. Why did you choose that over a spring-assisted knife, which I believe is legal in all states? Well, I don't live in America, and in Canada they're pretty strict with spring-assisted knives. Our knives are so smooth and fast, they don't need to be spring-assisted. So I don't want to make a spring-assisted knife. I went to the USN show in 2011, I think it was, and got to see all kinds of cool knives, and I found smooth knives and gritty knives, and I found smooth knives that did not have springs, and I was like, holy crap, this is possible? So that was the start of that. Have you ever ground a knife freehand, or are they all CNC? Already answered. The answer is no. Actually, that's somebody else's question. Why did you go with the Mori? Have you looked at the Okuma MV460 or 560, or what other machines did you consider? A big fan of the Okuma machines. I looked at them, but they would only sell it for retail price, whereas I got a good deal on the Mori, so that was a big thing. It was just on sale because it was a demo model, and they threw in the probing package and got a pretty good deal on it, I think. So, but yeah, I would totally get an Okuma Genos. I think they're amazing machines, and they're about the same price range as the Mori, more or less. Also consider the Brother Speedio. I think I talked about this in part 2. I read a lot on the knife forums. I'm curious as to what is the steel alloy you're using for blades, and why did you choose that alloy? Do you use jigs to sharpen your knives, or are they all done by hand? Why did we choose RWL34? The first knife maker that I met, not introduced me, but he was the first person I talked to about knives, basically, was Brian Ty. He lives about 45 minutes away from here, so I got to tour his shop early in my knife making journey, and he uses an RWL34 and damn steel. So he gave me a piece eventually, and I tried it out, and a relationship was formed. So we just kept using it. I mean, that's all there is to it. Yeah. And it's a Swedish company. We're Norwegian, so it's like Nordic, Norseman. It all worked out, and it's become kind of our trademark. And not a lot of American companies are using RWL34. So I was like, you know what? Let's just standardize this. And it's a great steel. It's a powdered metallurgy steel, stainless, really high quality, high purity, and all that. So just tried it. We haven't actually tried. I think I made one S90V blade that Brad Southard has right now, because he said he would heat treat it like a year and a half ago, and he hasn't yet.
Didn't he do something to it? Or
I think
was that a different blade?
He might have ruined it or something.
Yeah.
I forget. And then we made 3 blades from Chad Nichols Damascus, which we recently heat treated but haven't done anything with.
Nice.
As I almost broke it. It landed on my foot, so that's good. Anyway, I don't know about. I mean, I know a little bit about the composition, but I'm not going to go into it. Just look it up. And grinding, freehand, sharpen.
Freehand.
Real quick.
Freehand on a belt, 1x72.
Yeah, we've thought about jigs.
Yeah, definitely. But
and since sharpening the Rask, which is just like this of a blade, whereas the Norseman is this
better.
and then this, he's always complaining about the Norseman now.
Yeah. Well, the Norseman is, 2 edges that you have to sharpen on the same knife, and it takes quite a while, and getting it all to line up perfectly without too many mistakes is tricky, whereas the Rask is a lot quicker and easier to sharpen. So it's a nice change.
Next question, Stonewood. How do you decide when to get something waterjet cut versus milling the profile yourself? What percentage of the production cost does that represent? I can talk about waterjet. The thing with titanium is it comes in sheets like this. What am I going to do with a sheet like that? I don't have a bandsaw, which a lot of knife makers think is crazy, but even with a bandsaw, it takes forever to cut a sheet like that. It's not good for production. With waterjet, you buy the sheet online or from your source or whatever. It gets shipped to the waterjet place. They cut it up into little blanks and give you a box of blanks. And now you have a machine-ready blank. We often go a step further and get them double disc ground, which grinds both sides at the same time, makes them perfectly flat and parallel, perfect size you want, which is always good. Because the sheets always come in like varying thicknesses and varying warpednesses.
Oh, that's better with a pivot that fits.
Nice. So water jet, we typically... oh, is this mine?
Yeah.
Ooh, this is number 1.
It's not carbonized.
It's not completely finished, but it is on its way. Mine has the Bjorkman twist pattern. Where's the light? There we go. Anyway. So for titanium, I'm a big fan of getting a water jet cut because what am I going to do with the sheet? You can buy strips that are smaller. And actually, I used to buy 18-inch wide by 10-inch wide sheets of titanium that I would put on the Tormac. I would suction it down on my vacuum pallet, and I would machine, 18 handles from there. I'd do all the backside machining, and then I'd flip it over, screw all the handles in from the top or from the back, and then profile them out. Because the problem with that is when the vacuum seal breaks, or when you break through it, or accidentally drill through it or whatever, that whole sheet of $150 titanium and all the hours you put into it is now garbage.
And the tool that just broke.
Yeah, and the tool that broke, so all that. So, I mean, it's a $200 mistake plus time.
Yeah.
And how many of those sheets do we have kicking around? Like 6 or 7 or something like that. It's kind of stupid. Whereas with the little pieces, they're just less to mess up. And water jet cost, I mean, depends on where you go. It's cheaper in the States than it is in Canada, but expect to pay, $3 to $7 to get a piece like this cut out, which is not bad. And there are all kinds of different quality of water jet machining, water jet cutting places. I was just on the phone with Mark Vanderwest from Leading Edge. Can I have that knife right there? Leading Edge Water Jet. They are in Minnesota. Doesn't say. Minnesota, Michigan. One of those. No, it doesn't. But anyway, they sell these things, or they give them away at shows. And they have a Flow 5-axis water jet, and they have manual and CNC machines. They have a Mazak machine. Give some contact info right there if you could read that. But I called him up to have some work done, and we talked for an hour. Really cool guy. We might have some future stuff in the works. He is the best water jetter I've ever used, and I've probably used 6 or 7 different companies. And there's all kinds of problems that they can do. They can mess up your stuff. And when buying Timascus from Alpha Knife Supply, I'm like, I've had this mess up before. Who do you suggest? And they're like, Mark Vanderwest. Send it there. He's been the best. And he takes like little pieces and can water jet them for you. Most people don't, because it can splash back up and move, and it has to be kind of fixtured and held down, and he's up to that challenge. And water jet often produces a draft angle, so instead of having a 90-degree edge, it can have like a 80-degree edge or something, which can be a real problem when fixturing. So that's common, having it like that. I've had guys go too fast, where it's like chatter, basically, water jet chatter, which is super bumpy edges. And that's not good either. I've had undercuts where they like the sheet slipped and it messed up, and they sent it to me, and I've had lots of problems. Like, not big problems, but they're enough to be like, it's not the best water jet I've ever had. This guy does the best water jet I've ever had. Maybe a little bit more expensive than other stuff, but I haven't used him a lot yet for like bigger batches of stuff, so that works. But yeah, I want to give him a shout out because he totally deserves it.
Do we have some water jet blanks
from him? Yeah, the Timascus stuff, but whatever.
Well, it looks a lot better than anything else.
Yeah, it looks good, right?
Yeah.
It's clean, and he cares. And he has a 5-axis machine, so the head can actually predict the draft angle. Because when you have a stream of water, it kind of goes like this, right? So it blows out the back of the part, but the machine can predict it so that it can have a clean, I had this shipped right to him. This is Timascus. And he cut this out, and he leaves one little tab right anywhere, and so the parts are kind of loose inside. And with water jet, if you exit the part, it can be really bad, because then the whole part can kind of bow. So I've had that before. But yeah, he's the man. And oftentimes, be right back. So that being said, pieces like this I could mill out myself, and I have some pieces I'm going to try milling out myself. Oftentimes we buy sheets of damascene steel like this, and we're going to mill these ourselves. It's not too hard. Like, you just clamp them in the vise jaws like this, and then do your drilling pattern, and then you bolt it to another fixture that is, holds it down, and then you can profile it around. It's a little time consuming, but it's not too bad, and it works out. And it saves you the cost, the $5 to $8 or whatever of water jetting each blade at the expense of time. And we've done that on the Tormac for a long time too. So for our steel, we typically do that unless we get it water jet and double disked and lapped and all that stuff. But anyway, long answer. What percentage of the production cost does that represent? I talked about the cost already. Retro weld, when and why did you make your first knife? I think I showed the first knife. Yeah, the button lock in part 1.
Yeah, you talked about it.
I talked about it. So that probably answered all that. Let's try to blow through these without getting too far, or without getting too deep.
Gotta get these knives to these people.
12 questions. DMY 986. What is your best organizing suggestion for parts and tools? Don't let it get messy.
Kaizen?
Yeah, Kaizen foam. Little bins, like we've got these Schaller bins that are pretty great, and they fit inside a toolbox quite nicely. Have you ever ground a knife by hand? No. Who are your favorite knife makers, and what is your favorite knife? I suck at favorites, but I do have guys that stand out and knives that stand out. Brad Southard, super awesome guy. I love his knives. Dmitry Sinkovich, Russian Belarus knife maker, I think. In love with his knives, and I met him at Blade Show. Super nice guy. Met him and his girlfriend or wife, I'm not sure. Bought a t-shirt from him. I wear it all the time. Like, I like him. Eric's just going to spine whack a knife here real quick.
Yeah, it's only damascene.
Oh, it's
I'll
damascene.
finish that.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
That's one of our secrets.
Gotta beat the crap out of it before we send it out.
GTC, Gustavo Cecchini, Brazilian knife maker, makes some amazing stuff. Lee Williams, big fan. Jeremy Guinness, big fan. Who else? I don't know. There's a bunch of guys. I mean, you start following them on Instagram, and all of a sudden you get a daily feed of cool stuff. So, how do you like your Dust Deputy, and how does it work? Dust Deputy is just Google it right now if you don't know what it is. It's like a vacuum cleaner attachment. So it's sort of attached to a 5-gallon bucket, and it's a cyclonic filter, basically. So the air goes through, but the dirt and crap and stuff falls into the bucket. It's fantastic. It's amazing. Everybody with a shop absolutely needs one. I suck up the chips in the Tormac with the Dust Deputy, and it takes chips and coolant and everything and drops it into the bucket, and the air and the filter in the vacuum cleaner stays dry and clean. And after like a month of use, there might be a handful of junk in the vacuum cleaner itself. It's fantastic. Dust Deputies are awesome. Where do you get your Damascus steel? I buy it from Brian Ty, but it's made in Sweden, Damascus steel. Why are there holes in the end of the blade and clip blanks? Just like these clips right here. They are for mounting, obviously. I assume for mounting, that's what he says. Best online source for enamels? Enamels? Like the paint? I don't know. If you're saying metal, Alpha Knife Supply has like small quantities, so if you just need a couple things, Alpha Knife Supply is the place to go. Your suggestion for reducing oxidation during and after heat treat. Foil, stainless steel foil.
Yeah.
Eric's been doing 3 wraps, like 3 separate foil bags, and then you get a perfectly clean blade.
And triple fold each corner, each edge.
I just learned about stainless steel bags that are laser welded on 3 sides, so you only have to fold one side. That sounds awesome. More expensive, but awesome. Do you sell your bearing, or any component for that matter? We've thought about selling our bearings. I haven't put up the video yet, but we've got a new process for we're making our own ball bearings, the cage for it, and we've thought about selling them. Like, these are not just 10 holes around the outside; they're actually, round shaped on the inside. They actually say they're engraved Grimsmo on them now, which is pretty awesome. So we've thought about selling them. I don't know if we will. We might not. They won't be cheap, but they're awesome. And they're obviously so good that we feel compelled to make our own as opposed to just buying them.
Yeah. And we literally noticed a difference between these new ones and the old ones.
We've been making our own bearings for 2 or 3 years, a certain way on the Tormac, and then recently we redid the way on the Mori and the Tormac lathe, and we're putting those new bearings into our personal older knives. Like, I don't think I've done it on this one yet, but
This one.
yeah. So Eric's knife, this is number 069. We've made 500 knives, and put them in here, and it's smoother and it fires faster. And this is an old knife. Mm-hmm. And just putting our new bearings compared to our old bearings, it's that much better. So they are that good, guys. How cool is Blade Show? I've never been. Blade Show is the crack cocaine of the knife world. If you like knives, you have to go. Yeah. They get 10,000 visitors, which is not enough, over a 3 or 4 day period. But it's busy. It's crazy there. And it's awesome. Yeah, it's like everything about everything. And they have every kind of knife there, like kitchen knives, antique knives, tactical knives, folding knives, military knives, kitchen knives, everything. So it's a very, very cool place to go. And it's fun. I mean, people stay up till 3 a.m. hanging out afterwards. And it's a giant party, and it's just awesome. We've got videos of that, so go watch them. You like Blade Show, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're looking forward to it this year. Top 3 favorite hand tools that you suggest in your shop. No powered machines. There's this favorite thing again. Besides measuring tools, good calipers and stuff. I don't know. I guess I can't say my DeWalt drills because it's a powered tool. Quality bits and wrenches, like Allen keys and stuff. We've been using
the T-handles are great.
Yeah, these T-handles are great. Weehaw T-handles.
We've been using Allen keys forever, and we just got the T-handles.
Yeah.
And they're way better.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
I don't know. We like machines. I mean, we have a lot of hand tools, but that's a tough question. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Q-tips?
We use a lot of Q-tips. I use these precision gauge pins for measuring the diameter of a hole. Like this one's 1/8.6, 1/8.65, 1/8.7, and then I actually have these carbide end mills that are supposed to be 1/8.75, but they actually measure, let's see here, the pin is 1/8.75, this one happens to be 1/8.74, and this one's 1/8.73. So I can use those to fine tune the size of a hole. So I really like these, they're cool. I don't know. That'll do for now. And last, do y'all have any Grimsmo stickers? If so, I want some. Hand me a sticker, please. Helpful. Another 6-question guide by Bryce Bigelow. These are our new stickers. We got them from Sticker Mule, right?
Yep.
Stickermule.com. They're pretty good. I like them. We do sell these on the website. Did you put them up yet?
No, I took pictures.
Eric's going to put them up on the website today before this goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these are available. We have a few hundred of them, so. All right, Bryce Bigelow, 6-part question. I'm interested in more details of how you made your transition from your previous occupation to your full-time business ownership. Pretty sure I talked about this heavily. So you've probably already seen the answer to that. What did you do for a living before? Already answered that. End of part 1. I'm guessing some kind of farm work. Nope. Did you save up cash to buy the Tormac, or did you get a loan? I can't talk about that. I will say I've glazed over this question a lot. I think it's time to answer it somewhat. Everybody's wondering what the relationship is with Tormac. I can't answer it fully due to non-disclosure and all that stuff. Basically, after doing Knife Making Tuesday for a little while, like a year or something, Tormac called me on the phone. And they're like, yeah, we watch your YouTube videos. And at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like now, that's like Moriseki calling me and saying, yeah, we watch your YouTube videos. That was crazy. So that started a conversation, a relationship. They helped me out a lot in getting a machine. We have an agreement. I have to make videos so that the agreement works. And that's about all I can say to that without getting into too many details. But it's been a fantastic relationship. And everything I say about Tormac is genuine, it's honest, even though we have a relationship. I'm not like blowing smoke up your guys' butt. I still like my Tormac machines, and I want to keep them, and I still use them a lot. So that's about all I can answer for that. I notice you stay up late almost every night. Not anymore. Would your business have succeeded if you only put in 40 hours a week from the beginning until now? Obviously, you would have made less money, but you would have survived off of. But could you have survived off of that income alone? That's a good question. I used to stay up late every night. I don't anymore because I'm an early morning riser now. But for the first forever, I used to stay up till 3 a.m. or all night sometimes. A business is a pain in the butt. And I've recently heard it said that it's like a child. There is the infancy stage where most businesses fail. It's that, with a baby, you're staying up all night, you don't sleep, you're tired, you're groggy. It's like big change in your life. It's hard work, but it's worth it. But it's easy to stop a business. You can't stop caring for a child because it's your child. But that's why most people fail their first business, or a business, is because they stop at the infancy stage and they don't push through. I mean, there are bad ideas and there are bad products. So I'm not going to, say that every entrepreneur is going to make a good idea, but most of failures are for execution. And had I failed at my infancy stage many years ago, I don't know what, this wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't be here. So we pushed through. 40 hours a week. I mean, now we have kind of 9 to 5 hours at the shop, but I still work a lot at home doing design, email, videos, Instagramming, communicating with customers, things like that. So I don't count that time, but that's still a lot more. Would we have succeeded if we only put in 40 hours a week? Hell no. No way. It takes time. Businesses take crazy amounts of time. Could I have done it a lot more efficiently and a lot better? Absolutely. I was learning everything on the fly as I went along. So, I don't know. Hopefully, just watch as much of other people succeeding as you can, and hopefully you can learn something earlier.
Yeah. I'm sure if you're a fully experienced business person,
if
you can get going and started with close to 40 hours a week.
Totally.
If you have all your ducks in a row when you start. But if you're just starting out like he was before I came over, and it takes a lot more than that. Yeah,
I wouldn't say zero business sense, but I had entrepreneurial business sense, but no actual business knowledge, like training experience. I didn't research it much. I was all about the product and the process and everything. So I lack on business skill. If you are strong at business skill, you might succeed a lot sooner. I think that. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Do you do your own taxes? Are they hard to figure out on your own, or do you use help? I hate accounting. Part of me feels like I should learn about it and just get better at it, but part of me is like, don't struggle at what you suck at. Do what you're good at. Spend all your time doing what you're good at, and pay people to do what you suck at. So I've been farming it out, do my own bookkeeping, or have a lady doing my bookkeeping for me. Now that we're bigger and incorporated and stuff, we need to get an accountant and be a bit more legit about all that. But yeah, I farm all that out, and I don't regret that at all. That was some of the best money spent. Have you ever seriously thought about giving up along the way? Oh, yeah. Totally. At a certain level of success, it's going to work, but it could just, you just have this perpetual desire to keep going, even if you're making $0, which has been the past, 4 years. I knew knife making was going to work, and I knew I could make money at it. How much or how big or how successful we'd be was always the question. But before that, I talked about it at the end of part 1. I thought about giving up all the time. It seems Tormac started sponsoring you the day you bought the Tormac. I think I answered that to you. It was a deal. Is this the case? And in what ways did they sponsor you? I talked about it. I know these are quite personal, but I really appreciate that you shared already, and would appreciate anything else you have to offer. Keep up the good work. All right, moving on. How on earth did you finance the new CNC without going broke? That thing must have cost a fortune. Yes, it did. We did a pre-order for knives, which gave us a ton of cash flow, which we put into the machine in the shop and all that. And now we're broke. Let's make some knives.
Basically.
Yeah, basically.
It got us to this launch here.
Right.
Yeah. So we're there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now it is time to make knives.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. What resources did you use to learn CNC code, software, machine operations, etc.? YouTube. End of story. CNC Zone, Practical Machinist, Google, like, the info is out there if you're willing to search for it. And one of my strengths, and I realize now has always been my strength for my whole life, has been researching whatever I find interesting. And I find CNC very interesting. So the past 8 years has been non-stop learning about CNC machining. And you learn it online, you go try it in real life, it doesn't work, you try it again, you figure it out, you learn, search the questions, ask people, whatever. That's how I learn. Tristan McGrath says, I'm an apprentice machinist. What would be your top 5 measuring hand tools? Already answered the hand tools, had a hard time answering it. Measuring, though, I mean, I've had these Harbor Freight digital calipers, these $20 calipers, for probably 10 years now. And they're still awesome. For a $20 tool, they're fantastic. That being said, these are, I don't even know, $150 or so. Mitutoyo coolant proof calipers. With the new machine, I felt the need to get better measuring tools because we need to be able to measure how good it is. These are better, but you guys starting out have no business spending $150 for it when a $20 tool will do perfectly fine. Same goes for digital micrometers. This is the Shars one, about $45. Measures to half a ten-thousandth of an inch. I used this for about a year until I got the Mitutoyo version, which, you know, $45, like 180 or something, I forget. Better, good, like really good, excellent. So, and that's just the difference between hobby CNC, where the good stuff is fine, versus high quality stuff where you need the best. Yeah, and the gauge pins I already talked about. Have you considered servicing the rotary air compressor yourself? Warranty aside, I wouldn't have thought it would be too hard to change the oil filter and what else is involved. Good question. Rotary screw compressor is very simple to maintain. Just needs an oil change and a filter. And yeah, I honestly haven't put much thought into it yet because we've only had it for 6 months or so. And the guy just came in and did a quick check over and says it's not due for another like 300 hours or something. So I don't know. Maybe I'll call up the distributor and be like, can I do this myself? Will avoid my warranty, etc. Kostas Frudarakis. Didn't mean to butcher that. I tried to do it justice. In a case of mass production of small parts, what would you rather? Let's get this over here a little bit more. Too many knives in the way. Oh no. Too much Damascus and Damasteel in my way. Gosh. First world problems. In a case of mass production of small parts, would you rather have a single actuated jig, pneumatic vise, or pneumatic rams holding down the parts, or 2 jigs with plain old bolts that locate onto the table with pins so that the operator loads while the other is processed? Thanks for your time. I think you know what he's talking about. He's talking about fixturing. Like we've had pneumatic pallets where it suctions the pallet down. It's quick, it's good. The other thing, you could go way cheaper and just bolt the thing down. The good thing with suction is that it sucks the whole area of the thing down evenly. Whereas bolts can actually deform the plate. What am I trying to say? That being said, if your plate is thick enough, it will not deform based on the screw pressure and all that stuff. So like a 1/2-inch plate this big is totally going to bow. A 1.5-inch plate this big is not going to bow. And then bolts are fine. And it just depends on how big it is. If the thing's like this big or whatever, a bolted down fixture is fine. And most guys just put it in the vise in soft jaws on parallels and hammer it down once and clamp it down. I don't find that to be flat enough for me, so I like a more repeatable fixturing method. We've got the orange vices now, which have fixture holding capabilities, and that's what we're going to be using. So my answer to that is bolts are way easier and quicker, not quicker, but easier and quicker to implement, and a lot cheaper. Pneumatic rams or whatever is maybe more production, it just costs more money and it's more setup. So that's where we're kind of going to the simpler method. Hirudin. This guy, he's cool. He's got a brother Speedio mill. I started watching his videos. His videos got me thinking about getting a bigger machine and actually made me fall in love with the Speedio. So check out his videos too. Hirudin. Hirudin. For the Q&A, do you have any equipment that you wish you would have splurged on when you were just starting out? Well, yeah, I wish I had a Mori when I was just starting out, but that was impossible. But as far as equipment, for instance, I'd recommend people who are just starting out to go straight to using a Heimer, which is a 3D measuring tool, like a probe, basically. If possible, instead of wasting time with other edge finders. A Renishaw touch probe would be even better. I also wish I would have bought a flex arm or a tapping arm instead of a tapping head. I feel like the flex arm would probably be still getting used today, unlike my tapping head, which is just collecting dust. On the flip side, any splurges that you regret? Excellent question, Hirudin. Any tools I would recommend just starting out? I will warn you with measuring tools, once you get these quality measuring tools, your level of precision gets so much smaller and it's way harder to make good parts because now you can measure how bad they actually are. If you have calipers that are only measuring 1/1000 of an inch, then your personal standard is only 1/1000 of an inch. When it's 1/10,000th of an inch or less, your personal standard just got 10 times harder. And I'm finding that now. You see all the zeros and you want them to be exactly what you want. But what tools would I recommend? Organizing tools, like I said, I really like these Schaller bins. What else? Anything come to mind, Eric? What do we wish we had sooner? I know there's
Tumbler?
been... Huh?
Tumbler?
The tumbler? Yeah. For deburring all the parts and smoothing them and giving a good surface finish. Scotch-Brite wheel. I mean, we had that pretty early, but I recommend that for all knife makers. Need a Scotch-Brite wheel.
Yeah, I used that without having a grinder for
Yeah.
It's like that and a disc grinder.
We use the drills all the time.
Yeah.
We have two sets now. We have a 20 volt and the 12 volt. Before we had that, I don't know what we were doing because we use them all the time. So that's really good. What? These are hard questions because I actually have to think. And they're good questions because I want to make good suggestions. I'm just kind of looking around going, what do I really enjoy using? I know there's been times when we get this, they're like, how did I live before this? Gosh, I don't know. I might have to pass on that because nothing's coming to mind.
I really love my big 8-inch felt wheel now.
Yeah?
Finding that would have been nice a long time ago to help with polishing and finishing and all that.
Yep.
Because it's not nearly as aggressive as a Scotch-Brite wheel, but it's still, if you go to town with it, it can do some shaping and stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good. Like he mentioned, using a Heimer. I don't have a Heimer. It's like a mechanical or a manual touch probe, basically. When I got the Tormac, I got the spindle probe and the tool setting probe at the same time. And I used that from the beginning, and I love it. I mean, I watch people not using that, and it's painful to watch. And now I have it on the Mori. I do wish that I permanently mounted the tool setting probe to the table. Not this whole thing where I'm always putting it on a different surface and then I have to zero off the tool setting probe and then zero off the tool. It takes way too much time. On the Mori, I have it mounted in the corner permanently with its own offset. So on the Mori, you just type in G65P9857 and then the tool number, and it just goes, touches it off automatically, stores it, it knows it. You can do that on the Tormac now too. So that's something I wish I would have done early on, is having the, like, I didn't want to mount it on the table because I didn't want to take up the space of the machining possibility, but I realize now the kind of time savings and simplicity savings you get from doing that. Yeah. Any splurges you regret? There are some things, like for the Tormac, that we never used, but that's just us. Like they have a tool height offset measuring thing, which I don't like because I have the tool setting probes. I'm sure there's some stuff. What?
The ultrasonic cleaner?
Yeah, we got a little ultrasonic cleaner, but we can't get it to work to do what it's supposed to do.
We still haven't tried that new stuff that...
the actual chemical for it, yeah. We should try that, but... Yeah, kind of unimpressed with the ultrasonic cleaner. But a lot of guys are using them and liking them. We just haven't gotten it to work well.
Now, did we just get a lower quality one?
Yeah, we got the cheapest one. It was $50 or something.
Yeah, so maybe that's why it doesn't do what we want it to do.
I think we're pretty frugal with our money and pretty confident in what we're getting.
Yeah.
Do a lot of research and figure it out and know that it's going to be a good decision before we spend all of our money on it. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm looking around, but anything we don't use would be hidden away.
Or we got rid of in the move.
Yeah, or we got rid of it 6 months ago in the move. Hopefully that answers your question and helps you guys out a little bit. Can you set aside half an hour a week for regular video? Yeah, I got to do that. It's like these are easy videos because I can just start talking. The whole machining thing, there's a lot of camera angles, and a lot of editing, and a lot of thinking and all that. So, but yeah, I owe you guys videos, and it's a lot of fun to do. It's just time that I don't always have.
We're almost completely up and running.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to it.
Yeah, once he's running parts all day, I can make videos. Would a Tormac 770 with small carbide TTS tooling compete with the Tormac 1100 PCNC? Would higher speeds provide a superior finish on titanium, or would it be better to purchase the 1100 for working on titanium? Jeff Dumas, I don't know, is a friend of mine. He actually helped me with most of my computer buying decisions. He's a good guy, but he makes bally songs, like butterfly knives, and he's got the 770 making titanium and stainless bally songs all day long. I think he's pretty happy with it. I've only played with the 1100 or the 770 once, which is Tormac's smaller machine. They're medium sized now. They have a smallest one. It does have noticeably less power. Like I had one code where I was slotting through G10 material, and my 1100 could do it no problem. I ran the exact same code on the 770 and it stalled the spindle. You could hear it just... And the 440 has even less balls than that. So you notice the power, but once you can work within it and slow your feed rates down and everything to just not need that much power, once you work within the limits of the power of the machine and the motors and stuff, I think they're all very comparable. The 770 has more RPM, which is not beneficial for titanium, but it's beneficial for aluminum and plastics and stuff like that. So yeah, the higher speeds would not provide a superior finish on titanium. What does provide the most benefit is rigidity, run out of the tool. You guys need to try this. Anyway, imagine this was a tool holder, and your end mill's right here. If you put it in the spindle, you rotate it, and you put a dial test indicator on the tool, and you watch how much out of round the tool is. Everybody needs to do this, even if you have the best machine in the world. Even on my Mori, I do this. With like Sandvik tool holders, good stuff. Not the best, but really good stuff. And I find run out. And run out is the enemy. Run out makes a bad finish. My Mori can make a bad surface finish if I run it wrong and if there's too much run out on the tool. And my freaking Sandvik holders are not as good as I want them to be. You know, there's an answer for you, Hirodin. I wish I would have gotten not Sandvik tool holders. Let me show you. Come on, it's too much junk. They're all in the machine, in the giant 30 tool holder.
Like these ones?
Yeah, an ER16 nut is what I'm looking for.
Oh, just a nut.
They're all in the machine.
Oh, that's broken.
Okay, that end was broken. But they sold me a bearing nut. So this is like a 2-piece nut here. There's bearings inside that are supposed to make a higher torque, smoother, tightening, whatever. But these freaking things, see how much step there is between the face of the nut and where the collet actually is? So I have to stick out my tools this much more than I should, because the cheap Tormac ones are almost flush. Sometimes they are flush with the surface of the nut, and you see how this one sinks down so much more. So I'm losing stick out, because stick out sucks for small tools. You want it as short as possible. And so I'm making my tools longer than they need to be, and this nut makes more run out than I like, which is stupid. So for precision tools, I'm going to have to buy new nuts. I put my cheap Tormac nuts on these, and I have 1/10 of run out. Whereas with the Sandvik tools, sometimes I've measured up to 1 thou of run out, which is freaking stupid. So yeah, I'm disappointed with that because it drives me nuts constantly. And moving on. Ryan Berry, can you recommend some good beginner projects for someone who's getting started with a benchtop CNC mill? Like I said with SolidWorks, designing in the other videos, design everything around you. Just pick up stuff and design it because it will challenge you in weird ways. Same thing for machining. Like I've taken on weird projects in the past 8 years. Like I made stove knobs. I made a bathtub plug because my 6-month or 1-year-old daughter, whatever, like to pull out the bathtub plug. So I made an aluminum one that goes in and cranks and tightens and has O-rings and expands. And that was a good project for me. I made a cigar ashtray for my dad from a giant chunk of aluminum like this on my little X2, which kind of didn't work at the end because it had a giant hole in it, but it was a good experience. I made wine stoppers. Just challenge yourself to make weird stuff. Look at that and go, I can make that. That'd be pretty cool. And try it. If you're looking for a project, if you're looking for experience. Good beginner projects. It's really fun to make a knife, I'm telling you guys. And if you just want it as a fun project, then it's a big challenge, but it's a fun project. And it's something you can be proud of at the end, because you can use it. So, AR custom knives. How did you first start learning the ins and outs of CNC machining? I think I already answered that. What would you recommend for somebody else to take the plunge into learning CNC with no prior experience? Just YouTube the crap out of it. That's all I've done for the past 8 years, is just watching and learning. And I haven't seen everything out there either. That's the crazy thing. You think you've seen it all, and then the next day or the next week, you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know about this guy. And I'm still finding new guys on YouTube, new videos. The big companies like Haas have excellent videos on their YouTube channel. So even if you're in the micro do-it-yourself CNC world, you watch the big guys because you learn how the pros are doing it. Eric is currently flattening detent balls, so that is what that noise is on the Tormac, if you can hear that. So yeah, just immerse yourself in it. If it's something you're passionate about, like I am completely passionate about CNC machining, you can't stay away from it. You think about it all night. You're on vacation and you're still looking at it on your computer, kind of thing. Rookie says, from your experience, what tooling and accessories would you consider essential when purchasing a starter machine like the Tormac? What did you purchase as a want rather than a need? And what would you have done differently from start to the beginning? I'm going to take Eric's advice on this. Go for it. I'm going to write this one down, and I'm going to do a video I've been meaning to do for a very long time, is what to buy with your first Tormac. So I'm going to go through all the stuff that I have, all the stuff that I bought, the stuff that I bought but never used, and the stuff that I wish I would have bought. So I'm going to do that for the lathe and the mill. I'm going to write it down using my custom Tactile Turn titanium pen, tactileturn.com. No, Will is a buddy of mine. He actually just got a DMG Mori lathe version of my mill, which is pretty awesome. So let's see. Tormac starter kit. I will do that video shortly, because I've been meaning to. I get emails all the time going, okay, I'm going to get a Tormac. What do I get? And I have all these answers in my head, but it'll help to be at the machine and answer those. Does it get hot enough during the summer to make AC a requirement where you live? We didn't have AC at the old shop. We do at this shop. It's fantastic. Fancy machines like to be climate controlled so that they're a lot more accurate and consistent. So we keep it at balmy 68 degrees, like constantly. We've got 20-foot ceilings here. Now it's the middle of winter. I mean, today it's warm. It's well above freezing, but we've had some really cold days this winter. And 20-foot ceilings, all the heat rises and stays at the top. So we walk upstairs, and it's like 90 degrees upstairs. It's 65 degrees down here. So we recently put in, if you can see right about here, we just took a box fan and Eric mounted it at an angle, pointing down, put that on setting 2 out of 3, and that circulates all the air in this whole shop and makes it pleasant everywhere. So that is cool. So AC a requirement? No, but it's certainly nice.
On really hot days.
Yeah.
Because it does get up to 90, 95 here.
Yeah.
And humid.
It's nice.
Yeah, it helps with the humidity for sure.
Alex B., when would you recommend leaving a day job and becoming a full-time machinist? This is another one I should talk about in depth. I own a Tormac, but I don't know when is the best time to make the leap from a regular job to machinist. My wife and I were just talking about this the other day because I know there's a lot of you guys out there asking. All right, yeah, we just talked about this. We had some pretty good thoughts, too. It's a very tricky question. I don't feel like comfortable answering it because I don't want to give you guys bad advice. I didn't have a day job. My wife did, and now my wife doesn't work, which is great because I can support us easily. I mean, but easily. Put it this way. If you have a cushy job and you're making good money and you're playing around on the weekend trying to make stuff,
and you don't hate your job and your life as it is.
Yeah, and your life is comfortable and cushy and you don't hate yourself and your job and all that, that is not the time to quit everything and start being a full-time machinist. Unless you have the money and you don't care. Like, if you want to be broke for a year and do it, that's okay. I think being an entrepreneur is an art form. I think it's not for everybody. I think everybody can do it, but only certain people will excel at it. It takes an insane amount of hustle, an insane amount of hours. There are aspects to it that you didn't even know existed until you're deep into it. Like managing email is a gigantic hassle of mine that I like doing but don't have the time for doing. So I am currently leaning out my email process thanks to Paul Akers, but just try to predict and be forewarned about all the hassles of being an entrepreneur. Put it this way, if you have a full-time job and you're getting by, you want to be a full-time machinist, you have put in your weekends and your evenings and you stay up till midnight every night and you wake up at 5 and you work and you only sleep 5 hours a night and you work all the weekend and you hustle and you hustle and you have this product and you have a few customers and you're starting to promote it and it's starting to take off and you need the time from your job to do it, that's a good time to go full-time, especially if the quitting your job is reversible. If you fail completely and you need to get another job, that's reversible. Like Tim Ferriss talks about this in the 4-Hour Workweek, is how bad can it really be to, if you fail miserably, if the worst possible scenario in the whole world happens, can you get another job? Are you hireable? The answer is probably yeah. So if you can not die from trying this out, maybe try it. But I don't want to give people the wrong advice here. The thing I'm trying to say is there's many aspects to a business that you can build up while having a job, like a customer base. Because if the biggest mistake people make trying to start a career or a job, open a store, open a bakery, whatever, is they throw all their money into it and they borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars and they set it all up and then they open their doors but nobody knows about them. In today's social media world, that is completely the wrong way to do it. You can have the biggest potential brand and the biggest following before even having a product, just by interacting with people. You can have a bunch of friends, a bunch of colleagues. You can have a presence in the world before actually having the product. And then once you do start to make a product, you have an audience to sell it to. So That's my advice. If you have an audience, that increases the stakes or the benefit a lot.
Yeah, like if you're a knife collector with 1,000 followers and you just make your first knife, that's gonna get passed around.
Like Mike Nguyen.
Yeah,
we know him. He's always makes fun of us. He's hilarious. I mean, in a good way.
Yeah.
He's got jokes. He's a knife collector. He's bought a few of our knives. He's starting to make knives. I don't know if you've noticed.
I didn't know that.
They rock.
Yeah. They
are so cool. And he knows the market because he's got our knives. He's got other people's knives. He's asking everybody. He's asking me questions, and we're happy to answer. And he's done what I'm suggesting now. He's amassed the knowledge. He's amassed the customers, and now all of a sudden he's a collector who's got a bunch of friends, and he's making knives, and everybody's like, "Dude, that's awesome! I want one." So he's close to quitting his job. I don't know if this is true, but he's in a position where he could quit his job, maybe, and become a full-time maker. I don't know. But being a full-time knife maker is not a lucrative job until you get to this phase. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work.
And it's not even lucrative for us right now.
No, we're broke. I got no money. I was thinking before, I don't think I've ever had more than $10,000 in my bank account, like for any period of time. You know, I've had a little bit come and go, but yeah, that's kind of sharing. But I want to change that. Now is the time to start making some money. So there's probably more to talk about that. Maybe I will do a separate video in the future, but hopefully that helps a little bit. Yeah. Tesla Adams, when you started making the initial Norseman prototype, it seemed you pretty instantly got serious interest of potential customers. Looks like you already had a wide audience. This is what I'm talking about. How did you build that audience? For how long have you been producing knife scales then? And had you been involved in forums or news groups, or how did you spread the word? Same sort of question as the one guy's asking about, but from a better perspective. Like I talked about in the first video, the second I turned the camera around, I was like, "Hi, I'm John Grimswell. This is weird, but I'm going to do it anyway." That started my following, and I was just like, I didn't have products in mind. I was trying to make some car stuff, I guess, but I was just following the CNC journey of building the stuff, and that just putting out content. You guys on YouTube and Instagram and stuff are so hungry to watch content and interesting stuff that guys like us, creators, are like supposed to share it. So the more you share, the more following you get, because if you're genuine, you're yourself, and you're a face, not just like a set of hands doing weird stuff. Being a face helps a lot because it's a personality connection. You guys know me, you know what I look like. You feel that extra little bit of connection as opposed to just a pair of hands. So film whatever you're working on, or if you're an Instagram guy, just take pictures and interact with people, answer the comments, interact, make sure that people know who you are, and people are more connected that way. They remember you better. To start out making knives, I made these handle scales. I got some right here. Like these guys. This is a Spyderco Mannix knife. It's like an $80 knife, I think, but I put these, used to make these aluminum handle scales. This has our blood spatter dragon scale engraving on it. So we made, a couple hundred of these or whatever, and sold them, and that's how we started the experience to making knives, and the customer base, and the growing the following, and we were on Blade forums and USN forum. But basically, once we stopped making scales is when we stopped doing forums, just because we didn't have the time for it. We spent all of our time in the shop and wanting to learn stuff, as opposed to trying to hustle and sell, because we just wanted to make the best product we could. And we started Knife Making Tuesdays and started filming the whole process, and things are good. Eric's distracting me with Norseman flipping sounds.
What, the first flip?
Yeah, we'll call that good for now. Let's see. How did you build that audience? It sounds hard to build an audience. It just takes time and dedication. That's all it is. Most people, like the infant thing that I talked about before, most people don't have the dedication to keep doing something for years. I've been doing YouTube videos since like 2008 or 2006, I forget. It's a dedication, thing, a constant thing. Knife Making Tuesdays has been around for over 110 episodes. And I've done many other videos on top of those. It's a dedication thing. Most people don't have that. You just do a knife drop.
Yep.
Heat wall border. It would be interesting to see a side-by-side comparison of one of your first and most recent Norsemans and go over the changes you've made. That would be interesting. That would take a lot of time, so I'm going to skip that for now. In part 1, I think, or 2 maybe. In part 2, I showed one of the first Norsemen I made. Colin Warrobets. Knife making seemed to evolve pretty naturally for you. From back when you had the X2 to your Tormac to your Mori now, with a big increase in capacity, do you ever look for outside work for extra income? If you had to look at outside of your knife making niche, where would you go? Performance automotive parts, haha, or a la Volvo bits, or otherwise. As someone who's at the modified benchtop CNC step of side work, do you have any advice for finding work? As much as I like my 9 to 5, I have the capability to do work. It's always hard to actually find that work. I totally hear where you're coming from, Colin. Because that's exactly where I was before I found knife making and before I got the Tormac and all that. I had my X2. I'm like, holy crap, I can make anything. What do I make? I have the passion and dedication to learn how to make anything, but I have no idea what to make. And I was struggling. I was trying to find businesses. I was anodizing paintball guns because I taught myself how to do anodizing. So I'm like, okay, let's try to make some money doing anodizing. Ended up making, $10 an hour basically, and not very much of it. So I hear where you're coming from. I totally do. You got a couple options. You can use your eyes and your ears, walk around the world and see where there's a need and try to fill that need. If you want to create your own product, it's very difficult to do. You can see what other people are doing. Like when I came across the knife industry and it clicked with my brain because I like knives and I like making stuff. That clicked and I was like, I can do that. And how can I do it with my own little niche? And it took 4 years to get, really big at it. What could you make, or what could someone make with a small machine? Like, how do they get started in a business? It's the age-old question.
Is that what they were asking?
Yeah.
Or what would we do if we had...
No, it sounds like he's got a small bench and he's looking for side work. Okay. He's got a full-time job that's happy, but he wants some side work. He doesn't know what to make. It's hard because I don't know where your interests are. If you make something you don't care about, it's going to suck. Like when I anodized paintball guns. I cared about the process, but I didn't care about paintball guns. I never went paintballing. I thought that was kind of weird. So I didn't like the market. I didn't market myself in the industry because I didn't want to go on the forums and try to be this big guy that doesn't know anything about paintballing. Yeah, shut up. So that's a big disconnect for me, is that was not the right market for me because I didn't have the passion to go in and like hustle and do it. Whereas when I found the knife market, I'm like, yay, this is amazing. And I would talk and go on all the forums and talk to people, and I was comfortable and confident with it. So if you really want something to, I don't know, what do you like to do? Do you like to mountain bike? Do you like to ski? Do you like to...
What would you want to make for yourself?
Yeah, that's a good point. What would you like to make for yourself, as Eric says?
Yeah.
Because you're going to make it, if you want to come up with a product, if you come up with a product for yourself, like we did with the Norseman and the Rask, we made it to our own needs and standards, and it's awesome. And we have the passion to make it all the time now.
Yeah, and keep making it better.
If we were making, I don't know, even the car stuff, I was losing car passion. I was becoming more passionate about the tool and the process. But yeah, there's got to be something you're interested in that you can fill a niche for, or offer your services online. There are so many Kickstarter projects and guys trying to get ideas off the ground and that need a little bit of machine work or R&D or prototyping or whatever. Advertise yourself and try to find that kind of work if you want to be more of a job shop stuff. Or if you want to come up with your own products, you got to put your thinking cap on and you got to come up with something that you're passionate about, that you will spend 80 hours a week on outside of your job working on this project. Because that's me working on knives. I spend 80 hours a week outside of 40 hours here. I don't know, I'm making this up, but always thinking about it. Always on my email. Always researching. Always learning and doing stuff. Hopefully that helps you call in. Please feel free to ask a follow-up question if you want, because maybe I can answer that better, but try that. DIY CNC Guy, have you had any experience with the 770? Thinking about getting a 770 instead of the 1100. It was great meeting you at last year's Tormac open house. Your knives are an inspiration for me. Thank you very much, DIY CNC Guy. I already talked about the 770. I probably answered your questions about 10-20 minutes ago. Best workshop prank you and Eric have pulled on each other. We're not pranksters.
Yeah, we don't want to be surprised when we come into work or anything.
Yeah.
Having a prank pulled on me right when I show up in the morning.
Yeah.
I'd probably just be pissed for the rest of the day. Or he'd get slapped in the face or something.
Right. I don't particularly want to be slapped in the face.
We're not punching people.
No, we're not. We're nice guys.
Yeah. We don't want lasting damage.
Emotional scars.
Yeah, no bruises.
It's probably just over an hour now. Oh, we're almost done. Oh, I can do this. I can finish up. I can do it. There's like 10 questions left. Is it good?
I think so.
Just put together from the Mori.
No lube.
No lubricant. Smooth as butter. That's the thing, you guys, is we have the passion with our product and our knives. Let me see that bad boy. This is number 513. That, I see what you mean about that corner rounder going over the flipper thing right there.
Yeah.
We gotta change that.
Yeah.
See, that's how we do it. We share, we talk, we communicate. This is parts that came off of the Mori that have been assembled, and they work perfectly, accurately. Everything fits. The lock bar is at the perfect place. The detent ball goes perfectly into the hole. These kind of tolerances, unfortunately, are not achievable on the Tormac, so you build in a little bit of leeway and you tweak as needed. But it is pretty darn cool being able to do that now.
They're getting very consistent put together, which is fantastic.
Yeah, consistency is absolutely huge for us.
We want every knife to be as awesome as the next one.
Yeah.
Or the last one.
I've had customers say to me, like, I've owned 5 different ones of your knives, and they're all the same. And that's pretty awesome. We try really hard to make that happen. All right, I can do this. I can catch up. Jimi Hendrix, 87, asks, I asked this question in a previous vid, and you liked it. Ooh, some really good ideas there. That's like 4 different videos. I like it, thanks. So I'll ask it again. I guess I didn't actually get to answering your question. It would be great if you had a quick tutorial on how a knife maker converts to CNC machining and go over the basics of learning G-code, fixtures, etc., and even the basics of maintenance and tramming. Also, your experience on knife design pitfalls in CAD. Great questions. I'm probably going to give you the same answer. It's probably for a different vid, but I guess if you're able to address the basics on how a manual knife maker would attempt to start the process of adding a CNC to his process, learning programming, tool tips, etc. Okay, that is a good question. Because, like, our friend Brad Southard recently got a Haas CNC machine. Granted, it's from 1992 or something. And it still costs more than a Tormac. But he is now becoming more of a CNC knife maker, even though he has all this hand-making skill. So how do you progress from manual to CNC? Well, waterjet is the first place to start, because that's farming out thing. That saves you time and process. Instead of investing in your own equipment, you can employ other people to do some machining for you. Like, you can email DNC, is it DSY? No, Colin Warobets, and get him to make some stuff for you. if you want to try a CNC made handle with a pattern or something, I'm sure he'd be up to the challenge. You can hire people to do other things for you to test the waters. That being said, making quality knife parts is not an easy task. So hiring other people to do it is dicey, but doing it yourself also takes a ton of time. But it's a big jump to get into CNC machining. And do it if you're confident you can pull it off. If you're not confident, you need to find out how to get that confidence. Probably the first step comes to CAD CAM, is designing it. I suggest you go download Fusion 360 right now and try to make your knife in CAD. Like your current design or the knife in your head or whatever. Try to make it in CAD, try to make it work, try to get all the tolerances perfect, dimension it out, and then from there, slowly start figuring, well, how would I make this on a CNC machine? And answer those questions in your head. Like, just keep asking yourself questions and answering them, like finding the answers for yourself. Because that is how you're going to learn. That's how I learn. I never stop asking myself questions. I never stop trying to figure it out, trying to learn how to do it, or how to do it better or faster or cheaper or, stronger kind of thing. So, yeah, start with CAD CAM. Well, CAD anyway. Don't worry about the CAM until you actually have your own machine. Or are trying to instruct somebody to machine it for you. And then just learn. Like, just figure it out. Watch videos, learn how other people are doing it. Watch my old videos, learn how I did it, and apply it to your own process. Going, okay, if I had a Tormac, I could make my fixture like this, and I could use, like LakeshoreCarbide.com is where we get all of our end mills, and they have a vast selection of end mills, and they're always in stock. So you just go there and be like, okay, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch end mill, and I would need to do this, and I would need to do this, and this hole needs to be drilled, and so I would need this selection of tools. And then through enough of that process, you just figure out how it needs to be done. And then once you have enough experience doing that, you start to justify it. Well, I can pull this off. I can justify getting a Tormac because it will save me X amount of time. It will make me repeatable knives or whatever mill you want to get. And that's how we justify this thing. Because we can make more knives, better, faster. It costs a lot more money up front, but we're going to catch up. That's the thing. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, this whole knife maker converting to CNC could be a big video, especially the whole learning CNC thing. And I want to be more into the process rather than the learning. Like, seems like John Saunders is doing more of the instructional stuff. I don't really want to do too much of that. Like, I don't want to have classes like he's doing. I don't want to do in-depth how-to videos a little bit, but I want to bring you guys along in the process. Talk about more business stuff. All right, catching up. Almost done here. Adam Ayers. Now you have upgraded your mill. Is an upgraded lathe next, and how much faster is it making handles on the Mori compared to the Tormac? Keep up the great work. More videos, please. The handle time is probably about 1/3 faster on the Mori than it is on the Tormac, something like that. Is it good?
Yep.
Yes. Love it. Consistency. So it's about 1/3 faster to machine the handle. 7? That's all you're gonna do? I did 30. Step up your game.
Don't need 30.
Oh yeah, these are Mori knives.
Okay, it might need 9.
All right. Let me just film that real quick so people know what that noise is. Show us what you're doing. So we've done this for every knife. It helps settle the lock bar. I also used to do it a bit more, put it down, a bit more to the tip, like I used to do it right about there.
Ah. That's why it sounds different when you do it.
So what that does is it kind of cold forms everything together so that the titanium and the steel just blend a little bit more, and it helps make it not so sticky. Hopefully you can hear that. This camera has a boom mic, so when I'm standing behind the camera, you can't really hear me. But
should have stopped at 7. It's even stickier now.
Did you carbonize it yet?
No.
Okay, well that'll help. It's one of our secrets. Sharing secrets. All right, almost done here. I got work to do today, you guys. I got a short day too. Claire's got circus school this afternoon, so I got to go early. So yeah, it's a third faster to make them on the Mori, and finishing work afterwards is a lot less because the surface finish is that much better, the wall finish and everything. We can have same quality parts with less handwork into them, even though we still do put handwork into it. This is not, comes off the machine, we drop it in a bucket, it puts it together itself, and it's done kind of thing. We still put a lot of work into these things. So it's quite a bit faster and more repeatable, and it's worth it for us because we have the capacity. Tom Morley, John, if you were to buy a used CNC mill in lieu of the new Tormac, which year, make, model would you choose? I'd like something around the same price, is reliable and user-friendly, and is not going to cost a fortune to maintain or fix it if I break it. Any suggestions? That is a can of worms question. I'll do my best to answer it real quick. As much as I love Tormac, industrial machines are that much better. Just in quality of components, everything's beefier, everything's stronger, everything's made with better components. Because it's almost rude to compare a 20-year-old used machine with a brand new Tormac, because that's like saying a 20-year-old Ferrari that costs $40,000 or whatever it costs, I don't know, is the same as a new, I don't know, Ford I don't know. I forget cars because I'm thinking machining now. But it's hard to compare new stuff with old stuff. That being said, in the real world, when you have money in your hand, you are looking, do I buy a new Tormac or do I buy an old used machine? And, okay, if I were to buy an old machine, old Haas's hold their value really good. Well, yeah, you don't like really good? You're right. Old Haas's hold their value very well. Which means they're slightly more expensive than they should be, being 10, 15 years old. That being said, they hold their quality pretty good too. Pretty well. Shut up. I'm impressed. You're catching me on grammar. So Haas is definitely, and there's more of them than almost any other machine on the market. So they hold a good used value. Fadal machines are older and pretty easy to acquire. I just heard of some ones from the late 90s go for $5,000 for a machine that size, which is nuts. That being said, they're from the 90s and the computers are ancient and they can't do 3D machining because it can't process that much code. And there's all kinds of weird headaches and hassles with older machines that if you have a DIY mentality, you can pull it off. If you want a ready-to-run package, an older machine could be a can of worms for you. But if you're DIY, you can figure it out. And there's answers online, you can figure it out. So I would say Haas, Fanuc Robo Drill, anything Japanese basically. Older Brother machines are fantastic. Older Matsuura machines are fantastic, even from the 80s, but that's getting really ancient. Like back before they had hard drives, they had to use tape. Might have been in the 70s, but like tape reel with holes in it that reads weird stuff. What else? Yeah, anything Japanese. Kitamura. I've seen some year 2000 Kitamura machines go for a pretty good price, and they look amazing. What else? Moriseki, obviously. Basically, if you're looking and you want a range, go to eBay, search for CNC milling machine, sort by price, and start looking. And then if you see a name you don't know, start Googling. But in lieu of the Tormac, I mean, all the machines I just talked about are much better than the Tormac because when they were new, they cost $100,000 or whatever. So, I don't know. Hard to say. A lot of people just want a new, simple plug-and-play package. They have the money. They want to buy a Tormac and put it in their garage, and it's fantastic. This $5,000 Fadal that I was talking about probably weighs 8,000 pounds. Takes up huge space. It would not fit in my old garage. Things like that. I would like to see a more affordable Rexford RUT competitor. Rexford is a knife maker. He makes this thing called the Rut. It's like a multi-tool thing. I don't know much about it, but I don't want to make a multi-tool. Titanium construction utility blade. Oh, it's like a utility blade holder with an integrated pry bar and bottle opener. Or whatever spin you can think of. Seems like an easy task for the CNC machine. A very profitable, I would think, project. I agree. It would be pretty easy, and it would be quite profitable. Not too interested in pry bars. Liam Cooley. Ooh, second to the last comment. Liam Cooley. Damn, I was going to ask you who your favorite 20-year-old was. Winky face. Obviously, Liam Cooley. We met him at the USN Vegas show a year and a half ago, and he came and visited us a few months ago. Very cool, smart guy. He worked at a machine shop, like out of high school, where he got to run like giant 5-axis Matsura machines. You know, he was a button pusher, but still, he's a 20-year-old guy that gets to work with the best machines in the world, basically. The exposure that he got from there was insane. Now he's going to university. So obviously, Liam Cooley, one of my favorite 20-year-olds. But his actual question, follow-up, do you ever have plans to make anything other than knives? I know you and your lovely wife made the tie cubes, and Eric did a lot of the work too. But have you ever had plans on something else in the production or any other goals, thoughts? Maybe making custom putters or something for that example. Or something else, for example. In previous 1, 2, or 3 videos, we talked about making other stuff. Nothing actually comes to mind right now because we're very focused on our knives. Custom putters is a great suggestion. I don't care anything about golf. Eric likes golf a little bit. But to go back to Colin's thing, I have a CNC machine, what can I make? Dude, if you like golf, start making putters. There's a guy on Instagram, Tyson Lamb, who I talked to him about 2 years ago, and he's doing pretty good making putters right now too. He's kind of big into the golf scene. So yeah, Liam, I don't have any other thoughts. Oh, okay, there's a few things. Since making part 1 about a week ago, I've been trying not to think about this kind of quote-unquote $50 to $100 item. What could I do? And the things that come to my mind are, I thought to myself, what do I like? What do I carry every day? I carry a knife. Right now I'm carrying 200. Soon it's going to be that Rask that you're about to finish up. I carry a pen, tactile turn, custom pen, or my Brian Fellholter tie bolt. I carry a flashlight. 4.7s, runs on 1, 2, 3 battery. I've got a thing of Carmex because it's winter. I've got a hanky and my keys. And my keys, I've got a key bar from Mike Taylor at Key Bar, who actually started his business and is now super duper successful, he says, because of us. Because he bought a knife from us at Blade Show 2 or 3 years ago, and he was like, I want a business like that. So he started making key bars, and he is just annihilating the market with them. In a market where there were already tons of key organizers, he comes out with a super simple product, and he is crushing it. He's selling tens of thousands of them. Guys, he wasn't deterred by the fact that there was other stuff on the market. I wasn't deterred by the fact that there were other knives on the market. I'm like, I want to make my take on the knife. And yeah, the Norseman is not the best design in the world. It's kind of weird shape and all that stuff, but I didn't care. I went with it, and we're still going with it. And now we got over that hump where people are like, it's weird. And now people are like, I have to have it. So, yeah. So, what would I make? Practically speaking, it would be one of these two. Flashlights scare me a little bit because of the electronics. I'm okay with electronics. Like, I really do know a lot about circuits and resistors and making circuit boards and all that stuff, and LEDs, but it seems like a big headache to make it compared to making a purely mechanical object. Pens are interesting. I have some interesting thoughts on making my own pen, so I might look into that as my next kind of side product. I would love to make my own flashlight, but it's a market that I'm not into. I'm not on Candle Power forums. I'm not super into like pen forums or whatever. you pen guys are nerding out about. That being said, all of our followers right now would absolutely buy one of these if we made them. So for me, it makes sense to do that because it's like EDC kit. You know, I want people to carry my knife every day so that they don't forget about us. And if we can get more stuff in their pockets, then that's even better for us. And then they're showing it around more, and then word of mouth. That's marketing right there. So I don't know. What do you think? The more stuff we can get in people's pockets, the better?
Yeah.
And not like little pry bar crap, because it doesn't mean anything to us.
Yeah.
I think our products...
Stuff that's completely usable.
Yeah.
Like, we literally use our flashlights and our pens every day.
Yeah, I use my flashlight more than my knife.
Me too.
And that's kind of shameful to say that, but it's true.
It is. They're just so versatile. You know, you drop something, and instead of fighting through the shadows, you just...
Yeah.
Bring out your flashlight, because you have it.
All you 98% of the people watching this that don't have a flashlight in your pocket every day, you don't quite understand. And that's okay. You haven't seen the light yet. Get it? Get it? Yeah, that was a good one. It's amazing how much you use a light. Like, this guy is, what, $40?
Yeah.
And it's an awesome flashlight made by 47s. It's called the Q Mini 123.
And I do that one.
Yeah, and Eric's got the bigger version of it. This is 2 123 batteries, and yours is like $60 or something. 80.
Yeah, 65, I think.
And I think I lost one. This is my second or third one.
Yeah.
I have the titanium one as well, but I prefer the aluminum one because it's got smoother threads. The titanium is kind of gritty, pisses me off. I would love to design a flashlight that is an essence of who we are. It's smooth, it's got good tactile feel, it's useful, it's got everything I want in a flashlight. Like I said, I'm a little scared about the electronics just because of the headache around it of driver boards and LED voltages, and I just don't know about that stuff, and I'm not sure I'm willing to commit the time it'll take to learn it when we could just be making knives and crushing it there. So I don't know. And I don't have a lathe. Yeah, the Tormac lathe could totally make production flashlights. Yeah, I don't know what I was going to say there. Between the lathe and either the Tormac mill or the Mori, I think we could totally make it. God, you guys are making me think about it. And then the other thing is watches. Eric and I don't wear a watch, but we've always kind of wanted a nice watch. And somebody suggested in the comments that you guys would make a really killer watch because you're all intricate in detail and stuff, and I totally agree. And the funny thing about that is about 2 weekends ago, I spent like 5 hours straight. My wife got this used, like 50, 60-year-old watch from the thrift store for $5. And it's a good brand, Swiss brand. It doesn't work, so I'm like, well, let's learn about watches. So I binged for like 5-6 hours learning about how a mechanical watch works with the spring and the wind up and all that. And now I get it. Now I know what all the gears are for inside, and it all makes sense in my head. That coupled with this guy's thought that we should start making our own watches is a bad idea for me because I do not need more distractions. But anyway, Liam, yeah, that answers that. Last question, Lee Dingle. I'm late to the video, but I thought I would still ask my question. I really enjoyed part 1 and we'll watch part 2 later. Question, any plans to make a non-flipper, maybe with a thumb hole or a helmet-shaped cutout? Helmet-shaped cutout? Oh, in the knife, I guess.
Instead of a spidey hole?
Like a nail nick, but...
Yeah.
Anyway, no thoughts. I really like flipper knives. I think they're awesome. If you don't know, this is the flipper tab. If I kind of want to make a small knife, like yay big, and that probably might not be a flipper, but it might. I don't know. I like knives on bearings because they're just ridiculously smooth, and bearings lend themselves to flippers. There's no point having a knife so smooth if you need 2 hands to open it. So I don't know. No thoughts. Probably not going to happen. That wraps it up. Holy cow, we did it! We did it! Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This totally can. This was over an hour and a half. Wow. Not going to do that again for a little while. That was probably hour and a half, 3 hours. It was probably 4.5, maybe 5 hours of total content answering your guys' questions. Happy to do it, but I really wish I was working right now.
Technically, if you did half an hour a week.
Well, like, part of the reason that I'm thinking about this idea is I'm following this guy on YouTube called Gary Vaynerchuk. If you don't know who it is, go to GaryVaynerchuk.com. He's hilarious, and he's like the social media business guru guy to look at. And he does a weekly show, or maybe even more than weekly, called the Ask Gary V Show. You submit your questions, he'll answer them exactly like I just did, except he only does like 3 or 4 questions in every 20-minute show. And we could do something like that.
Yeah. Because, I mean, a lot of these questions are more or less duplicates. So.
Totally. And that involves kind of sifting through the questions and really good ones and then ranting about them. So we could totally do that. So, food for thought. Anyway, thank you very much. I really enjoy reading the comments to these answer questions because I'm curious what you guys, like the feedback you're getting from all these answers that I'm giving. And it's actually causing me to read my comments, like keep up with them religiously. It's very easy for me to kind of ignore it and not take the time to interact with people, but I want to interact. So this might be, this was a really revealing thing for me to kind of find my voice and talk to you guys and lose my voice and, get all this stuff in my head out, and hopefully it's helpful. So I'm going to stop rambling. I've got work to do because it's a short day. Laid stuff today, Maury stuff today. Things are good. Life is good. We're going to finish Rasks, right? We're going to ship our first one maybe on Friday. Mm-hmm. Day and a half, 2.5 days. Okay, awesome. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for watching for like an hour and a half of us talking nonstop. Gotta go. Take care. Bye.